What's up, everybody? Here we go once again. Welcome back to another episode of Football Talk with Hawk. I am Hawk, and I am glad you're here. Today, we're going to go over the unrestricted free agent skill position players. Now, this is obviously not all of them, but here are the what would be considered the top unrestricted free agents at quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and tight end. Basically, your fantasy football teams, what's going to happen to them? If you run a dynasty league like I do, then you're going to be wondering, where are these guys going? Where will they end up? It really changes their value and changes what happens. And I tell you what, I have to admit, I wasn't aware of a couple of these that are actually unrestricted free agents. Wasn't aware of it. But we're going to get all into all that and plenty more. But as always, thank you for listening. If you're on Spotify, thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. I deeply appreciate it. Okay, as usual, start out with whatever is not part of the title of the podcast. And the biggest news would be that Bill Belichick is officially no longer the head coach of the New England Patriots. I started thinking about what this job, what's the allure to it? What's the big draw to coaching New England? And I honestly believe that the next coach kind of has an advantage of, you're not going from what Nick Saban left in Alabama. That team just made the college football playoff, was just in the Rose Bowl, lost in overtime. You're not taking over that team. You're taking over a team that's lost and lost and lost over the last 3 years. So you're not losing, or you're not coming into a situation that is been winning a winning culture, because let's be honest, it really hasn't been a winning culture for probably 5 to 7 years. Brady was keeping it there, but it wasn't really a winning culture. We didn't believe they were going to win the Super Bowl outside of it being Brady. The team was weak. Mike Vrabel and the Titans go up there to New England, knock them off. Like, it had that feel, and that's what really happened. On the downtail end of his tenure at New England, Bill Belichick did not have success as the standard. It was searching, it was grasping, it was clasping at whatever he could. And honestly, if you're the next head coach, really, you just need to be able to win again. They just lost at home to the Jets. The Patriots are not used to losing to the Jets. It's not what they're used to. But Bill Belichick's final game as a Patriot head coach saw a team that he dominated for years dominate him. That's what happened. So I think you're in a good position. I do believe they need an offensive coach. I believe this is the time to go potentially for a wild hire. They did decide to mutually part ways, so you're not paying Bill Belichick a ton of money, like the Raiders are paying McDaniels and Gruden, or the Cardinals are paying Cliff Kingsbury. So you don't have any cap on what they're willing to do. And the organization is a very solid organization to work for. Robert Kraft is a great owner to work for. The geographical location of New England doesn't make it all that appealing to free agents, maybe, but they always got them. Yeah, they were winning Super Bowls, but it's not out of the question. It's not out of the picture. You can get people to go to Boston. It's not hard. I think what's going to be the difficult question is, do you believe that you can reinvigorate Mac Jones? Remember, Mac Jones, and I know I hear some of you chuckling already. Listen, being a football fan, you have to look at facts. And the facts are, with Josh McDaniels, Mac Jones was not bad. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. This Patriot team has a lot of needs. A lot of needs. And just going off of Jimmy Johnson's chart, just going off of the chart he made for the draft picks, that third pick in the NFL draft is so valuable, you could get 4 or 5 picks for it to trade down, to be able to get that capital to fill your team up, to be able to get those picks. Guys, this draft is deep. The juniors are all coming out this year. The restructuring of college football landscape, a lot of the players, and I called this early. I said this in the summer and definitely in the fall when everything was official. I said, you're going to see everybody leave now. If they're smart, they're going to leave now. Tua Tagovailoa's brother from Maryland, he's transferring, asking for a 6th year of eligibility. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. Come on out. Everybody needs a quarterback, and everybody needs a backup quarterback now. You're sitting at a prime time opportunity to be drafted, to be needed. He's not an NFL quarterback. Cam Ward, Washington State, not an NFL quarterback. He's probably going to play. He will probably play in the NFL. Drafted in the 4th round. The injuries are so often now, you've got to have that backup, and it's not a bad idea to have a rookie. It's cheap. You've got potential. You can mold. So Quinn Ewers staying in, I think, is a better fit option for him. But I think him staying in is because he could potentially be a first-round-ish pick next year. I don't think he's going to be top at all. That's going to be Shadur. Kyle McCord from Syracuse now. We'll have to see what he does. We'll have to see how this year shakes out. But you're not looking at a ton of QBs that are going to be first-round talents next year. This year, linebacking core, Junior Colson from Michigan is coming out. He's entering the NFL draft. Harrison finally officially said he's going to the NFL draft. Half of the Bama players, NFL draft. The reality is, I mean, the Florida State players, all of them went to the NFL draft. What you really have to look at is the fact that we've got the good teams, that are going into the NFL. Florida State, Alabama, Michigan, Washington. You got all the good coached, well coached teams with players that are going to the NFL. It's an offensive line class that I believe is really deep for potential. It's a defensive line class that has, I mean, no lie, it's got some of the most interesting defensive ends. There's going to be guys that could be picked in the 6th round that I'd put in my starting rotation on the defensive line immediately. The defensive tackles coming out this year are really good. The corners, we definitely got some. You got multiples. Safety's kind of weak this year. Safety is definitely weak. I'm not going to lie. That position is definitely weak. Running back, people are going to say, well, there's not a big back, guaranteed back coming out. I don't know about that. Benson from Florida State's out. Trayvon Henderson from Ohio State is out. I mean, Carson Steele from UCLA is out. Marshawn Lloyd from USC is coming out. You got to look at how the landscape is. So to be New England's head coach, you've got so many options. That trading back will give you the bevy of picks you need to get you back into where you need to be, because you're not beating Josh Allen and Buffalo with that team right now. You're not beating Miami with that team right now. And the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, you're probably not beating them right now. You need the picks. And you need the year. You need another year to be able to go 6-10. Or sorry, 6-11, 7-10. But be competitive and look like, hey, we've got a shot. So there's that about New England. That's really where everything looks to be right now. I mean, how it's all going to shake out, nobody knows, but that's what makes it so much fun. All right, let's get into the free agent list. Now, this is a list I compiled through everything that I have. This is a list that I've got now, and there may be more that you know about, and if there are, that's fine. These are the ones that I found through my research that I know are 100% unrestricted free agents, and obviously looking through other posts, blogs, and other journalists that have done other research as well. So let's get started. Here we go. Quarterback. This is not a year to need a quarterback in the NFL. It's really not. Because you don't have a star quarterback, and this is a good thing. Quarterbacks are not being let go or being allowed to get to the point where they're going to hit free agency. 2 years are left on their deal. Boom. 4-year extension, new 6-year contract. They're never going to be allowed to hit free agency. Now, with this list, so here's something about this. Kirk Cousins is the number one on this list. Russell Wilson very well could be a free agent. I honestly, in the right situation, put Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins kind of coincide together. I could see Russell Wilson working with a defensive coach that's not named Pete Carroll. Legitimately. It's not going to be Pete Carroll. But I can see him working with a defensive coach and a good offensive coordinator that's going to let him kind of do whatever he needs to do to make it work. I can see that happening. Hands down, I can see that happening. But Kirk Cousins is an intriguing free agent. Coming off the injury, I don't think he's going to be able to demand a ton of money. You're still probably only looking at the 35 max $40 million contract, but you're probably looking at incentives as well. And it should be relatively easy to get him. What team could benefit from having a good, solid quarterback for 2 years? I think he could play longer, but I'm going to put it at 2 years. I don't know how long his arm is going to last, and nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. So, if you're looking around the league, I don't think the Giants make sense. Number one, the cap, because they're not going to be paying Daniel Jones and another quarterback. That's why drafting a rookie out of college is perfect for them, because it keeps the cap hit low. Washington, I don't know. I know he'd be open to going back, but because they're outdoors and because of, I don't know, just it's a fit, but I think because they have the number 2 pick, it really doesn't make sense. Chicago could trade Fields and try to get Cousins. That doesn't work either. But there is a team. There is a team, 2 teams actually now, that do make sense. Atlanta makes a lot of sense for Kirk Cousins. Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Dome, South, young team, energized like Kirk Cousins is. He's got weapons. Drake London. Listen, everybody loves Jordan Addison. I think Drake London could easily be Jordan Addison. Justin Jefferson is special. Yes. But I think with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, he's got the weapons. And then they also have the 9th pick in the draft. Well, what does that do? That 9th pick now can become anything you need it to be. And I mean anything. If Calais Campbell is going to retire, they can get the defensive end from UCLA, who I think comes in and immediately takes over that spot and is an immediate impact player. No questions asked about that at all. So you got to be wondering what teams could make a play. The other team I'm going to say to watch out for, honestly, is Seattle. I know they want to get rid of Geno Smith. The Seattle ownership knows Geno's not good enough. Kirk Cousins is. DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker. They got weapons. They got ability. The defense has some players on the team. So I think the head coaching position there is really nice. Really nice. Okay, so Kirk Cousins is number one. Second is Baker Mayfield. I don't think Tampa Bay lets him leave. I hope Baker isn't greedy. If Baker tries to be greedy, all he did was make the playoffs. He may win a playoff game. In fact, I kind of think he will, which to me is going to get Nick Sirianni fired. And that's kind of where I'm leaning for what's going to happen next week. And the head coaching stuff gets even more interesting. But nonetheless, Baker stays at Tampa Bay for $20 to $25 million a year. I'm okay with that. I'm not paying him more than that, but I will pay him $20, $25 million a year. I think he works in Tampa Bay. He works with that staff. He works with a defensive coach that's going to just let him play, an offensive coordinator that is able to mold the offensive game plan to what he does. He's still got Godwin. He's still got Rachaad White, which I love. Beautiful draft pick by them. Cade Otton, the tight end. You can draft a receiver to replace Mike Evans if Evans leaves. So there is something to Baker Mayfield, but I don't see him working in many teams at all. I don't. I think Tampa Bay fits him. I think he fits Tampa Bay. And that's it. All right, Gardner Minshew is a free agent. I really hope nobody tries to pretend like he can be a starting quarterback. If anybody looks at the tape, they'll realize how bad he was and how horrible a lot of his throws were. He's not that good. They run a lot of crossing routes with Michael Pittman. That's the majority of his completions. He doesn't have the ability to do the quick throw on the go routes. He just doesn't have it. His accuracy is not on point. Joe Flacco, listen, I'm not paying a lot of money for an old guy. I'm sorry. The reason he's doing so good at this point of the season is because he didn't play the whole year. He's in the prime time to be able to play right now. He's warmed up. He's not tired. Yeah, it was great. He's not going to get offered a starting job. Jacoby Brissett as well, great backup to have. Great backup to have. Ryan Tannehill, also another backup to have. Jameis Winston, I think, got himself basically let go from New Orleans. The junk that he pulled in the final week and how he answered it is the same reason that Jair Alexander is also going to be cut from Green Bay. Just not professional. Not a good football player, and as a quarterback, sucks. Just that simple. Tyrod Taylor, there are a lot of teams that would love to have a quarterback as Tyrod Taylor as their backup. Somebody you know that's going to come in, and he may not win you a lot of games, but he won't lose you the games. He's going to be competent. He's going to keep you there. You can win with Tyrod Taylor. Josh Dobbs and Drew Lock will round out what I'll mention here. We got a couple more after this. Marcus Mariota, Mason Rudolph, Sam Darnold, Tyler Huntley, Carson Wentz, and Trevor Siemian, and Blaine Gabbert. None of those guys are really going to do anything, not really worried about it. But Tyrod Taylor, Josh Dobbs, and Drew Lock are interesting because Drew Lock's won a game this year. Josh Dobbs won a game this year. Tyrod Taylor, yes, it looked like Philadelphia did exactly what the Los Angeles Chargers did to Brandon Staley. They gave up. That game just looked bad. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But Either way you look at it, there's a deep backup quarterback free agent class, and those matter now. Your starting quarterback has a high chance of going out. And just on a personal note, if I want the Indianapolis Colts to get Tyrod Taylor or bring back Jacoby Brissett, at the worst, I mean, I could see, honestly, I'd be okay with bringing in Josh Dobbs. But Jacoby Brissett and Tyrod Taylor, to me, would give us the ability to win, and we would have made the playoffs with either one of those two quarterbacks. Because they're not afraid to take the deep shots, and they can actually hit them. All right, wide receiver. There are a lot of wide receivers that are available as usual and is the case every year. I'm going to go down and we're going to break down the top 10, and I'll mention the rest of the names as well. So here we go. T. Higgins. I don't know what Cincinnati is going to do because T. Higgins is actually the first one, and then the last one we talk about is Tyler Boyd. Two of their receivers, two of their three-headed monster receiving corps are free agents. You're paying Joe Burrow soon. You can't afford to keep both. I think they'll be able to keep Boyd over Higgins. I think that's where they're going to be able to go. T. Higgins, this is a great year for him to be a free agent. There's a lot of teams that'll take him. I think he's going to be a number 2 in multiple teams will bring him in as a number 2. I think he's going to have a huge market, along with Michael Pittman Jr. The market's going to be huge for him. It's just the fact that I don't think he's a number 1. I don't think there's any part of his game that makes him a number 1. He's a number 2 receiver. He's not a big body receiver. You're not winning jump balls with Michael Pittman Jr. Any 6'4" receiver should be winning jump balls in the end zone. We're not winning jump balls in the end zone with him. He didn't do that. He had 4 touchdowns this year. Yeah, he got over 1,000 yards. Sure. 4 touchdowns. 4. Come on. Don't tell me he had amazing turnout even without Anthony Richardson. No, he didn't. He failed. He failed badly. He needed to be better. All right, third, Mike Evans. Obviously, he's going to have a ton of suitors. Obviously, there are going to be people lining up left and right to be able to get this guy. As they should. As they should. Line them up left and right. Get the checkbooks out. Listen, I'm willing to give him a 3-year deal. Front loaded. I pay him early. That way on the 3rd year, if I need to get out of it, I can get out of it cheap. But Mike Evans, 3-year deal, I will take what he brings to the table. Deep threat, big body, jump balls. If I'm a team that already has another receiver like an Atlanta, like a Seattle, like potentially, I know it sounds crazy, like New Orleans, he fits because he won't have as much pressure. I don't think he can go to a team that's bare. I really don't. I don't think he can go to a team like the Titans and be as successful. Where he's going to have to really dominate. Because let's just be honest, DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, He's not on that tier. He's not on that tier at all. He's really not. But there's a team that I'm wondering if they could make this move. I don't know because they spent money on a receiver that they currently still have on the roster. But Calvin Ridley is a free agent for the Jags. Now the Falcons want him to sign because if he signs a contract extension with the Jaguars will then lose their second round pick. Because the trade was a conditional pick with the Falcons, all based off of playing time, incentive, and being able to re-sign him. If the Jaguars re-sign Calvin Ridley, the Falcons then get the Jaguars' second round pick. So the Falcons are hoping they re-sign him. What if they got Calvin Ridley and Mike Evans? And then on top of that, they were able to get rid of Christian Kirk. I don't really like Christian Kirk with what he does. I honestly believe that Parker Washington is a really good. I like what he brings there. I like what Zay Jones brings. If they could get rid of Christian Kirk, I think that would make a lot of sense. Really do. I like that option if you can get rid of Kirk. So there is that. But Mike Evans and Calvin Ridley together on the Jaguars, ooh, that's a really good spot for Mike Evans to be in. All right, the next one is Hollywood Brown from Arizona. Hollywood Brown, I don't know if he's going to get suitors. The injuries piled up. Obviously, he's going to get suitors. If I'm Arizona, I'm trying to get him for a little bit cheaper. And then I'm drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Just straight up honest. I want to get him, and I want to get what Brown can bring to the table if he's not forced to be the number one. If he's not forced to be the number one, can he recoup some of that magic? That's the question. And I don't know what the answer is. I would hope. Because Hollywood Brown is really good. The deep ball is really good with Brown. Really is. He's got that ability to push the top of the defense off. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to be there, and I don't know what is the amount that's going to be needed for Hollywood Brown. The next two, Gabe Davis and Michael Thomas, I think will demand the same amount of money. Gabe Davis is a solid number 2. Michael Thomas, I believe, is a number 2 now. I believe he is a number 2 receiver. He, just like Evans, I don't see him being able to go to a team where he has to be the main guy and only the main guy. He needs a little bit of help, at least another weapon that's there to be able to keep everything going and make everything work. Gabe Davis, I like. I like Gabe Davis. The next two, Odell Beckham Jr. and Tyler Boyd. Odell Beckham, it is one of those interesting things. Not going to lie. It is one of those it's an intriguing player. He does work. But honestly, I wouldn't sign him for anything except the late season push and hope that he's able to stay healthy. I don't see him playing a full season. He's not that great anymore. He's an intriguing free agent, not a great free agent. All right, we'll go down the rest of this list real fast here. So then we got Curtis Samuel, DJ Chark, Darnell Mooney, KJ Osborne, Kendrick Bourne, Noah Brown, DeMarcus Robinson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Chase Claypool, Julio Jones, Laviska Shenault, Van Jefferson, Josh Reynolds, Cedric Wilson, Paris Campbell, Nelson Aguilar, Sterling Shepard, Nick Westbrook-Akeen, Chris Moore, Equiminius St. Brown, Jamal Agnew, Wes Watkins, Mac Hollins, Marco Hardman. Then you got Isaiah McKenzie, Braxton Berrios, Marquise Goodwin, and Robbie Chosen. So those are the receivers. FYI, for those of you that are interested, there are only 4 kickers. Nick Folk from Tennessee is a free agent. Kyerme Fairburn from Houston is a free agent. Greg Zuerlein from the Jets is a free agent, and so is Chase McLaughlin from Tampa Bay. Okay, running backs. The position that everybody says is dumped on. Running backs are outraged because they're not making as much money. Well, no. Because you got to be able to do a lot more things than, well, you got to still be able to run. And I think this year, the injury aspect is actually going to dominate the fact that there's not going to be money given out. So here are the top 5. Saquon Barkley, injuries. Josh Jacobs, injuries. Austin Eckler, lots of injuries. Derrick Henry, recent injuries. DeAndre Swift, injuries. And then you got a second tier that still has some injuries. The next 5. Tony Pollard, where's the production? Bombed this year. Antonio Gibson, lost his starting job to Brian Robinson. J.K. Dobbins, never really played, injured. Ezekiel Elliott, had solid production after Stevenson went down. And then Devin Singletary, also solid production when Pierce went down. Which one of those guys are you paying a bunch of money to? I'm sorry, I'm not paying Saquon Barkley a bunch of money. I'm not. The injuries, the constant injuries. Josh Jacobs is a little bit better when it comes to the injuries. I think with the right team, Josh Jacobs sounds and looks good. Austin Eckler, I don't know if you're going to play 10 games. Derrick Henry, you looked old and clunky except for the final game of the year. You look bad. I don't know. I mean, it took everything to be able to beat the Panthers. Like, none of it looked good. He doesn't look great. DeAndre Swift, I'm not going to lie, this is the one I like the most out of this group. When he's healthy, Saquon Barkley and DeAndre Swift are definitely the top 2 out of this group. I love what Swift can do. I think he could probably get $7 to $9 million a year if you incentivize the contract. if you incentivize the contract. But I don't know. I don't know. Um, the running back area, so the 10 that I just mentioned, everybody has on their fantasy team. So let's look at the prism through the fantasy. All 10 of these guys are changing teams. There's some more behind them. I'll run down the rest of the names real fast. Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Gus Edwards, Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, Dante Foreman, Cordero Patterson, Jerick McKinnon, Rico Dowdle, Chase Edmonds, Joshua Kelly, Latavius Murray, Rashawn Penny, Ty Johnson, Dearness Johnson, Amir Abdullah, Boston Scott, Matt Breida, Travion Williams, and Melvin Gordon. I think it's a great year once again for backup running backs. Now, once again, personally, right now, if I'm I want the Colts to be able to go get guys that are going to strengthen what we can do. We got to throw the ball better. AR has an arm. Anthony Richardson has an arm. A gun. I like Josh Downs. I like Antonio Pierce. I did not like Michael Pittman, but I like the idea of getting Michael Thomas on a cheaper contract, $7 to $8 million range, probably with incentives. And then I love the idea of getting KJ Osborne or Darnell Mooney to be the fourth. Yes, fourth. 4 wide receiver sets. Become an air raid offense. Jonathan Taylor the back. You can run out of that offense a lot. Force a defense that's got defensive backs on the field. Force the defense's hands. I know it won't happen, but that's what I'd love to see. Because Jonathan Taylor, I think, works really well in the RPO offense that they run. But I think the multiple, you got to get away from the tight ends. Jelani Woods is good. But to be able to do a double wheel route from the slot and give AR 2 sides, especially against teams that run a cover 3 or a cover 2, the holes in the zone are going to be there. KJ Osborne, Josh Downs, really fast. Pierce, solid route runner. Thomas, solid route runner. I'll take you. I will take those 4 receivers. Give me those 4 and let's run this thing. Give me those 4 and let's run this thing. So there's running backs. Honestly, I don't want Zach Moss back. I really don't. I think he's going to want too much money. J.K. Dobbins, to me, is the intriguing one where he's been injured so much. I don't know who's going to really go after him, but I like Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, and J.K. Dobbins for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm okay with keeping Tyler Goodson. That doesn't bother me at all. But we could also go big body. A.J. Dillon is a bigger body. He likes downhill a lot more. He'd be a good pickup for goal line situations. Gus Edwards just had a really good year with Baltimore. I like him if we pick him up. Running back, for the backup running back position, third back position, you use them a lot. They're interchangeable. I'd love to have 3 backs that I can trust. Just me. I'd love to have 3 backs that I can trust. All right, last group here, tight end. Last group here, tight end. Number one, the tight end that just carved up the Indianapolis Colts, Dalton Schultz. He's going to have a lot of suitors. A lot of suitors. And then you have both New England tight ends, Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Now, if I'm New England, if I'm the new coach coming in, I'm signing both of them again. I am. They were not the problem. That is a good 1-2 for tight ends. No, it's not your big play guys. I get that. They both can catch. They both can block. Your offensive line is weak. You've got to make some moves. It works. It works. They're cheaper, and they will serve the position really well, and they fit the team, and I think that's what they should do. Then you got Noah Fant, Gerald Everett, Irv Smith Jr., Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, Robert Tonyan, Tanner Hudson, Adam Troutman, Colby Parkinson, Drew Simple, Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, Tyler Kroft, and Blake Bell. You've got some second tight ends on that list. Austin Hooper is actually an intriguing one to me. I'd love it if the Colts would go get him because I don't like... We've got two tight ends right now in Jelani Woods and Mo Alley-Cox. Mo Alley-Cox is the blocker. He can catch. He's too expensive. I'm sorry, he's too expensive. Jelani Woods is the big, tall tight end. Big, tall tight end that can win in the red zone and has. I don't feel like we have the tight end position really dialed in. Kylan Granson really feels like a Jacob Tamme to me. He doesn't feel like a tight end that I'm going to be putting a lot of my faith in. He's definitely a second or third. Will Mallory did a good job. He's a rookie out of Miami. I liked him. I liked the draft pick. Don't think he needs to go anywhere. I like him as the third tight end. Really do. But I would love Jelani Woods and maybe a Noah Fant, Gerald Everett, Austin Hooper behind him, and then Will Mallory. But our tight ends get injured so often, I don't know, maybe we do just need 7 tight ends. It's possible. So there you go, guys. That's the list. That is the list of the unrestricted free agents that I know right now. Like I said, there can be more as other guys get released. Like Dalvin Cook, he's going to be a free agent. You know, I know he's going to be a free agent. He's not right now, but he will be a free agent. Russell Wilson probably will be a free agent. You know, Taylor Heineke will be a free agent from Atlanta. There's still a lot to be able to siphon through and take care of. But that's your current list, or at least a base of a list to go off of. What is your team going to do? What do you want your team to do? Who do you want your team to go after? I'd love a Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift dual-headed backfield. Taylor doesn't want that. He's getting paid way too much money to do that, honestly. He's got to be a number one back, but I don't trust Taylor to stay healthy at all. So that's why I want a Kareem Hunt. That's why I want a guy like Devin Singletary, J.K. Dobbins, even though he can't stay healthy. I'll take a flyer on Dobbins if I can get him for $3.5 million. Because if he's healthy, he's going to be electric. So lots to still figure out, lots to be able to comb through, but there is your base list for the free agents for the 2024 season. All right, guys, that is going to be it. That is going to be it for me. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for listening. The next podcast, I'm not really sure which way we're going to go. I may compile a list of all of the candidates and go down the list for you guys. I'm not sure yet. For head coaching, we'll see what Friday brings. See if another team decides to make a move and get in on the potential sweepstakes with Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel. It's interesting. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe I'll go a different route. And then obviously on Saturday, it'll be my picks for Super Wildcard Weekend. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. But for now, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Football Talk with Hawk. I'm Hawk, and I'm out.